This is the first time in history that we're featuring a couple who was previously married to another couple on our podcast, because the two of you have co-parented in a way where there is harmony, peace, unity.
I think that the best thing that we've done for my children is confuse them to the point where they're like, oh my gosh, do I even wish that my parents stayed married? Because then where would Penina and Dovi be? Like I've heard them say that. When I got divorced, I was just between graduating law school and taking the bar. So I wasn't quite an attorney yet, but I had still 2 kids at the time. When I met Dovi, he was a dad of 5. He was taking care of his kids. He was very involved. His focus was around being a tati.
So you were divorced with 5 children. How old was the youngest?
1. Deja was 1.
Very little.
Yeah. Deja actually, he had open heart surgery at 3 months old. He was born with a heart defect. He had open heart surgery and, so I guess a couple months later was a divorce. So
you had a lot on your plate.
Yeah, it was a lot.
To say it lightly.
It wasn't an easy time. Definitely wasn't an easy time.
Welcome back to another special episode of Stories of Hope. This one blew my mind. For the first time in SOH history, we have featured a couple that was previously married to another couple on our podcast, Estee and Dovi Greenbaum. This episode is going to change the way everyone, as a collective nation, looks at the concept of transitioning from one marriage to divorce, navigating through the divorce, and ultimately having a peaceful, positive, co-parenting relationship. What I've heard today, I've never heard before, I've never seen before, and I'm really grateful to Dovi and Estee that they shared it with us so that ultimately we can share it with you. Now, before we start, it is summer, thank God, it's finally here. And I just saw on the Peasy Deals app today that there was a bike on sale from $150 to $40. An entire patio set, the really nice ones that your neighbors have that you want, it can be yours. Also, for 35% off, there were wipes, garden supplies, cookingware. And this isn't a secret. You can see it for yourself if you look at the Peasy Deals app. You must be thinking it can't be that the sales are that big. But that's exactly what Peasy Deals is. Peasy Deals. They are providing you with unbeatable deals. You don't need to look anywhere. And honestly, if you haven't downloaded the app, it's a big loss on your end, but that can change today. So download the Peasy Deals app, because with Peasy Deals, you'll never pay full price again. Hi, I'm Tzipora Grodko, and this is the Stories of Hope podcast. Welcome back to our very special Stories of Hope podcast. And here at Stories of Hope, we're always trying to do things that we haven't done yet. And so this is the first time in history that we're featuring a couple who was previously married to another couple on our podcast, Aryeh and Penina Kunstler. And the reason why we're doing that today is because the two of you have co-parented in a way where there is harmony, there is peace, there is this unusual dynamic of unity. And I don't think that people really know that's an option. And I know that everything the two of you have been through has contributed to the beautiful legacy that you've built today. So that's what we're here to talk about. And it's going to be so interesting with Estee, with your background as a divorce attorney. And Dovi, just hearing more about you, because I actually don't know you very much. Estee and I grew up together, so this is extra exciting for me. And I just want to thank you for coming in and let our listeners know what they can expect from today.
Right.
So this will be fun. So Dovi, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and what life was like before you met Estee?
I'm from here, from Monsey, grew up here. And I got married at 23. We lived in Israel for a little bit. Then we lived in Lakewood. And then we moved to Far Rockaway.
Okay. And I know, did you have children in between?
Yeah, we have 5. I have 5 children from my first marriage. Mm-hmm. And to my I have twins. They're almost 18 now. They were born in Israel. And then my third was born in Lakewood. And my fourth and fifth were born in Far Rockaway.
Okay, and how old were you when you got divorced?
I was 38, I think.
And how old was your youngest?
37, maybe. So 36 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were 36, divorced with 5 children. How old was the youngest?
1. JJ was 1.
JJ was
Yeah,
1.
he was 1 years old.
Oh, he's a cutie.
Yeah. He was 1.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
little, very little.
Very little.
Yeah. Yeah. JJ actually, he had open heart surgery at 3 months old. He was born with a heart defect. He had open heart surgery, and so I guess a couple months later was a divorce. So
You had a lot on your plate.
yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, to say it lightly.
It wasn't an easy time. Definitely wasn't an easy time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing about it. Estee, tell us a little bit about your background and what life was like before you met Dovi.
So I also grew up in Muncie, started out here. I moved to the 5 towns when I was about 20. Got married when I was 20, moved to the 5 towns, had 2 kids. Was married for 8 years. I started law school about, I want to say, 3 years before I got divorced. And then when I got divorced, I was just between graduating law school and taking the bar. So I wasn't quite an attorney yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I had still 2 kids at the time. And I was divorced, I want to say, about 3 years before I met Dovi. Right?
Yeah.
Sounds about right?
Yeah, I was divorced 2 years. You were divorced 3 years.
I was divorced 3 years. And I wanted to get married again. I really wanted to get married again. And it was really like freeing and new when I met Dovi, because he was not like the other people in the divorce scene. He was very private outside of it. He wasn't like, I didn't know of him. All his friends were married.
Yeah, I didn't join the divorce scene. That wasn't what I was doing.
What is that, the divorce scene?
What is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a place you go when you want to be broken more.
No.
It's a terrible place. I mean, it's like like quicksand. It's like you think you're stepping into something. I mean, this is my perspective from the outside. You think you're stepping onto something solid and you're just sinking further into it. It's very hard to get out of it.
Mm.
I know that because while I personally wasn't in it, I have a couple of friends that were in it, and they tell me what goes on there. Just it's not a place you ever want to be in.
Yeah. And what would attract someone to go and then to stay?
Pain, and then it's quicksand,
Mm.
So you think that you're running into something that looks very appealing, and the experiences that you think you're going to have are going to, bring you to the place that you want to be. Ultimately, everybody's searching for happiness and to feel good about themselves. And you think that that's where it's going to bring you. And you just get more and more stuck in it. With each experience, you just get more and more stuck, right?
Yeah, I think that it seems like it's a very relatable place, because everybody that's part of what you're doing is in the same boat as you are. So there's something safe about being with people whose experiences are relatable. But at the same time, if you're trying to be away from that experience, it's very hard to do that in an environment like that, where everything is so within that topic. It's like Dovi's saying, it's like a push and pull, because on the one hand, you kind of gravitate towards it because it makes sense and it's easy. And like, I know for me, it was extremely difficult when I first got divorced, and Yom Tovim, for example, to be with my family, coming back as someone who had been married with children, and then to sit around the table with my family and feel like, not that there's anything wrong, but it was just not what I had been doing till that point. So it felt in my head at the time like stepping down a level right? And being at a Seder with my father and not having my 2 sons with me, it was like, so then what am I doing? And I found it easier to just go away with friends who were doing the same thing as me and also in the same boat and did or didn't have children with them. But at the same time, I found that the further I went into that environment, not because anything was necessarily inherently wrong with it, it was just pulling me further away from what I ultimately wanted, which is why when I met Dovi and all of his friends were married, I said that already, but it was a big piece because his mindset, he was a dad of 5. He was taking care of his kids. He was very involved. That was where his focus was. Like it was very evident when I spoke to him that his focus was around being a tati. That's what he was. And his friends all had wives and like that's where they were holding in life. So it was very clear to me that that's where he wanted to be holding.
Yeah. And it's so tough because especially when someone feels like they're separate from community, all that you like crave is community.
Yeah.
And so what do you do when you find safety in like-minded people, but the like-minded people are so sensitive that you can't really nourish each other because you're so busy trying to heal yourself?
Wow. Yes.
It's true. It's true. But there's short-term gains and there's long-term gains. And if you have the ability to focus on where you want to be and you keep that as your objective every day when you wake up, then that will make it, you'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get there.
This is why it worked for him.
I also had my circumstances were different. The things that kept me very grounded, in my opinion, there were 2 elements. One was that when I was a teenager, I misbehaved. Like I wasn't a very good boy when I was a teenager. So once I decided in life that I no longer want to live that kind of lifestyle, then even though I got divorced, I wasn't going back to, living this, other version.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing. The other thing was that I got sole custody of my oldest child and still have that. And then twice, once when I was single, I got full custody of all of my kids. And then once when we were married, we got custody of all my kids for a year each time. So there wasn't really a lot of room there for me to be out and about. I was taking care of my kids and it was during COVID too. So it was very, very complicated. I moved into my parents' house. Kudos to them for having us. But we moved into my parents' house here in Muncie. And my sisters were amazing. And my parents were amazing. And they really helped keep things, going. But at the same time, I was dealing with all the court stuff. So it was very rough. But, that kept me grounded because my kids needed me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a really challenging situation for anybody to have to go through because there's so much pain when you come out of a divorce, even if it's a nice divorce, meaning everybody is nice to each other, it's still extremely painful. And when something hurts, you just want the pain to go away. So if it's with friends, and even though it might not necessarily be the best thing for the person long term in the moment, if like all you want is that pain to go away, I just wish sometimes that I could scream at these people, not in a negative way, but just scream at them like, listen, like you have so much you can have, but you're doing things that are going to make it impossible to get there.
So how can community and friends and family help? Because our community is so, if you're an Orthodox Jew, it's so family centric.
Right.
There's so much around family and there's so much surrounded by, shul and Yamim Tovim and Shabbos, all highlighting this system of family. And if someone doesn't have that, you feel so ostracized and out of place. And therefore, I would imagine you might gravitate towards those that are like that too. So what would you both say, how in your experience that you had and in the experiences that you didn't have, how can family and community help?
I think that the way people get divorced is the issue more than what follows after that.
Hmm.
In the divorce, it seems like there always has to be a bad guy. Like somebody has to be the bad one. I was right, you were wrong, and both people feel like that. Therefore, they fight. Therefore, inevitably, there's tremendous amount of pain and hurt. So that all the way the divorce is gone about creates all that hurt. So if you're going to have all that hurt, you're going to do things to rid yourself of that hurt and that pain. I think that the method of divorce needs to change. If two people no longer work for each other, so just agree. Stop trying to paint the other person in a terrible light to the kids, to your family, to your friends. Stop making everybody have to be a bad guy and one person is a good guy. Why does it have to be that way? Just agree that it's not working anymore and you're both there for the kids, and that will eliminate this crazy pain. It's not gonna have the same effect on the individual if the divorce is more logistical than emotional.
Fascinating, because many people would think that's inevitable. I don't even know if they would know there's another alternative to consider.
There is. It just requires real mental maturity to be able to accomplish that, and not always is it possible. But if I would be able to go back in time, maybe there would for sure be things that I'd handle differently if I would have known that. And maybe it's on the leaders of our community to be more involved in the divorce process with people and tell them that there's other methods other than fighting. I mean, all you're doing is making attorneys rich. That's all you're doing. And my wife's an attorney and very rich. But she's also a mediator. And that, to me, is where all of these cases should be going. Everyone should stop trying to destroy the other person and focus on just being okay and building yourself, as opposed to tearing the other person down just to make you feel like you have value.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a completely mind-blowing new perspective. And I want to ask, what motivates someone to think that they have to put the other person down? There must be whenever there's an argument, it's because someone thinks that something's at threat, whether it's their ego, whether it's an item. So how do we eliminate that threat when it seems like it might be complex when it comes to custody or money?
For sure. I just think if the focus is the children, ultimately as a parent, you want your kids to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? So if that's more important to you than yourself, then why should other things play a role? I watched that with Estee and Arya. I mean,
Can you share a little bit about what that was like for you?
I think that the process of getting divorced is inherently sad, right? I think that getting around that is really impossible, I want to say. I know that every once in a while you have those people that they really feel like they were trapped and they were abused, and getting out of it, there's a relief and a certain sense of being reborn. And that might have a little less of the factor that Dovi's talking about with needing to put people down, because it's almost like if you know that it was that bad, you're just so focused on how okay you can be now that it doesn't even need to be about the other person, right? But when that's not there, automatically it's just a sad dynamic, more than angry, more than needing to fight. And I know that for me, I think that was more the element than anything else. I think that there was a lot of pain and hurt that needed to be moved on from. And once each, I guess, on our own, we're able to focus on that, it made it easier for anything that my kids needed to really be the focus on both of our ends. I think that there's certain levels of pain that might never go away. But again, when it's not like this intense hatred that you need to form, it's easier to live with, I want to say, right? And I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I could only speak for the environment that exists between not even the two of us, it's the four of us, really. I think that's a huge deal. But I definitely think that's really, it's that element that makes it easier to be able to kind of work amongst each other and amongst yourselves to focus on what's really important, right? As far as the element of like where community can come in, and I think like to couple with what Dovi's saying about if people were able to just kind of see divorce for what it is, right? As opposed to it having to be this like crazy blow up, right? That automatically when one person becomes a bad guy, they feel the need to completely strip themselves of everything that they've ever thought themselves to be, right? One person's moving out of their house. Unless they're selling the house, right? But one person's moving out of their house. They're moving out of their neighborhood. The family feels the need to step in and like defend and protect theirs. And the kids get somewhat, I don't know, tossed around in the middle. But I think that if people didn't have to feel like they needed to become someone else after getting divorced, I wonder if those people wouldn't feel as misplaced within their own communities and within their own families. And then they wouldn't have to run to find something else. And it would just be like, okay, so you were married, now you're not, and that's okay. And you could still function and exist. You don't have to constantly answer for what you are and what you aren't. You don't have to constantly feel like you need to become a different person who no longer fits in the life that you used to fit in order to find yourself, in order to be okay. And I know experiencing that after my divorce, there was this idea, I know specifically for a girl, I can't speak to a man, but getting divorced completely shreds you of your self-esteem. It's like every single decision I've ever made in my life, did I make wrong? Like, do I even know who I am now if I was married for 8 years and so many things made sense to me? And now it's like, nope. So I'm like, do I need to be someone else? And I know for so many people, it's like, does my religious level have to change? Does the way that I parent have to change? Does the way that I view everything that I do in my life have to now become different? And you don't really have a sense of community anymore because you don't know who you are. So there's this like long period of, it could be long, it could be short, but of just trying to figure out what your place is in life. And see, for Dovi, it sounds like that might have been a little bit easier only because you had already done that version of like, who am I? What am I doing?
Right.
But I think most people in the frum community, when you grow up in a frum home and you're living a somewhat functional life within your family, right? There's no, you don't really, I don't know what that looks like.
Right.
And if it looks anything like what I experienced after I was married, I'm not mad that I didn't have it. I would be perfectly fine not having it at all. But at the same time, like you have no sense of community, right? Like I didn't know the people that I always lived amongst, the people that I grew up with. It's like, I'm now coming back and it's like, so you look like Estee and you have Moshe and Shmuel, but like, who are you really? Right. And I don't know if I only thought that and I projected that onto everyone else, but like, that's how I felt. Like I would come back to my parents' house and it's like, what can we say to Estee? Like, are you okay? Are you good? Can we talk about it? Like, what happened with divorce really? Like, who's this? What's that? There's so much that you carry. So it's like, while you're trying to heal from this crazy experience, you're also trying to figure out like, what's my place in life now? Right? So I wonder if it's not so much what the community can do, but it's more, it's definitely what the community can do, but it's more like, do people have to go through that in order to figure out what their place should be? Or should they be allowed to feel comfortable in the community they always lived in?
Yeah.
Right.
So you all know I'm a big fan of Raquel Couture, and I'm really excited because my friend is getting married. And in addition to having bridal gowns and wedding gowns, they also have evening dresses. So Raquel Couture caters to anyone. If you're the friend, if you're the bride, if you're the sister or the parent, they are the top industry for bridal wear. They customize, tailor, and have beautiful, unique pieces that are just sitting there, ready for you to try them on. Conveniently located in Brooklyn, New York, and Lakewood, it's just like the best place to go to. And what's super cool is if you mention Stories of Hope, you get 5% off your beautiful piece. So go someplace where quality is not compromised and service is top notch so that you can look as beautiful as you deserve to feel at Raquel Couture. Check them out on Instagram to see their beautiful pieces, and check them out in your local city or drive down there. It'll be worth it to find that perfect piece that you've been looking for. We'll be right back to our episode, but first, as promised, I'm really excited to give Saddaka in the merit of all those that are watching this episode and hoping it provides them with something. And I'm doing that through my favorite app that's Kolel Chabad Saddaka Pushka app. I'm going to do it with you right here. That simple. I just made my donation, and this money is going to support orphans who are struggling to pay for their weddings. So join me in the mitzvah. Download the Kolel Chabad Saddaka Pushka app, and in an easy way, simply change someone else's life and elevate your day through providing blessing by simply pressing a button to give tzedakah. It's almost like the separation from the spouse creates this doubt of insecurity and shame, and the person feels judged, and then they almost have to defend themselves, and there's already so much going on. You don't have to defend yourself for making a very brave choice that was really scary. That's helping you.
Now imagine,
bro,
if that person, those two people, when they're asked, "Oh, I heard you got divorced." Yeah, we got divorced. It wasn't working out, and we're doing this together for the well-being of the kids. Imagine if that could be the response versus, "Yeah, I got divorced because the other person was this,
Right.
and did you know that this happened, and now they did that last week, and 2 weeks ago was it?" Like it
festers.
It's gross. And
Yeah.
if there's a shift in how it's handled, again, this is my opinion. If there's a shift in how it's handled, then the feelings that are associated with it will be different also, and they could be more positive. And
Yeah. So the shift is personally on a micro and then on a macro level too. When people hear that someone got divorced, when the instinct is, "Oh, and what did they do? And what
Right.
happened? Who, what, why?
Why?
Right,
Oh,
why?
it must be that.
Right.
No, you don't know that, right?
it could just be it didn't work out.
right.
It didn't work out. We tried. It didn't work out, but we're okay. And we're doing this process together to make sure that the kids are going to be okay. You'll blow people. First of all, you're total killjoy at that moment because they were waiting for something exciting. Because people like that. They want to hear about the drama in your life so they don't focus on their own.
And they don't realize that your pain becomes their entertainment, and it's so
right, and it's real.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, just to defend those that might be, thinking, but 1 second, if you don't really have a good reason for getting divorced, then why did you break your family apart? Right?
Well,
like I know in the olden days, my parents aren't that old, but in the olden days, it was like, unless you're bleeding, like you didn't break your family up just because you didn't like the person on Tuesday, right? Like that's how things always were. And I think now it's getting considerably more normal and more regular to get divorced. And when people hear that we didn't really have a good reason for getting divorced, they're like, wait, so what?
Well, it doesn't really matter. There could be a good reason, and there could be it just wasn't working, but it's certainly not the other person's business.
So maybe that's what it is.
Right.
Exactly.
Everybody.
It doesn't need to be a public.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't have to be that everybody now knows exactly why you got divorced, because then it makes it that you're the right one.
Right. But perhaps the reason people feel the need to say that is like what you were saying, is that because your whole sense of self is destroyed, now you need all this outside, pick me up. So I have to, if I knock the other person, now I'll feel better about myself because at least momentarily, maybe. But I don't know. I don't know what our leaders could do more. I don't know, because they're busy trying to keep couples together that are willing to stay together. But I don't know. Maybe I do think that there's a big gap in our community for like somebody to mediate divorces, somebody to tell both people involved that there's a pathway through this, that it can be as painless as possible. Not painless completely, because by nature there'll be pain, but doesn't have to be, debilitating and devastating.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like unbelievable. Is that something that you've been working on a little bit, Essie?
So that has been something that I've been working on. And I think that piece of saying it doesn't have to be so painful, I think that's really the key, because when people hear that, they're like, no, but you don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand what it's been like being married to this person. And I think that people aren't understanding that we're not saying that your experience wasn't painful, that it isn't still painful, that there isn't so much that you still need to fix, to understand, to heal from, to grow with, right? But that doesn't have to mean that the process that you're already going through, right? We're not at that point where we're questioning whether or not this should or shouldn't remain a marriage. We know that you're at the point where it's done, right? So to have to add that element of needing to always figure out a way to, if there's a way that I can make it uncomfortable for the person, that's what I'm going to do. And I believe strongly that people don't think that that's what they're doing. But when you take someone who in every other situation in their life, they're level-headed, they're considerate, they're understanding, they strive to be the best version of themselves. But then when it comes to dealing with their ex, that pain and that need to either prove something, honestly, I don't know what it is. But whatever that piece is, it causes that every single encounter is difficult, is painful, is completely a waste of time, because whatever it is that you need to get done doesn't, because that piece is so overpowering. It completely ruins any chance to try to figure out what's best for your kids ever in any encounter.
And I like the word that Dovi used, the mental maturity. And here's my question. Is this a possible place to aspire towards if one party is extremely mentally immature and one party is mentally mature? Does it take two to tango? That's the question.
For sure. Always. But maybe that's where people who know the less mentally mature individual could step in. Parents are so many times scared to say to their child, what you're doing is not okay. There's a way to go through this in a mature way, and it doesn't have to go this way. But I think that everybody sides up, everybody picks a team very quickly, and this rabbi's mine, that organization is mine, this friend is mine, and very quickly lines are drawn on whose side you are and whose team you are. And I had a friend actually who refused to get involved on either side, and it was very hurtful to me. It was like, but I see his point. He asked his Rav, and his Rav said, no, just be there. And it was painful because everybody was drawing lines. But he, out of all of the people involved in that time, was probably the most level-headed and mentally mature of all of them. He just refused to get involved, and he's like, I don't care. I don't care. But kids need a place to hang out for the afternoon. that was what all it was about. Like,
Mm.
I don't care this. I don't care that. So don't talk to me about that. I don't want to know. I don't care. So I think that the people who are not, emotionally invested in it, like the two individuals themselves, parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts, cousins, people should just step up and tell the person, we'll support you through this, but just don't make it a fight. Don't make it a battle. You're only hurting your children. Like, for what are you gaining? You're hurting yourself and you're hurting the children.
So very practically speaking, for people who are in this right now, and it does feel like a fight, what would the two of you advise?
Stop. Just stop. It's a decision. It's just a decision. It's like every other decision that everybody else made. You were at one point single, and then you found the girl that you thought you wanted to be married to, and then you decided to marry her. You didn't have a job, and then a job opportunity came, and you decided to take the job. You didn't go to the gym, and you decided to go to the gym. There's decisions. We make decisions all the time. So why is this one so emotionally charged? Because there's a lot of pain behind it, but it also, at the end of the day, it's just a decision. So you have to do it for the kids. That's why. You want your kids to be okay, or you want them to be broken, fragmented people who think that, because the kids know that they also have to pick a side. So when they're by you, they make it clear that they hate the other side. And by the other side, they make it clear they hate you. If you think that they're doing it only on one side, you're in la la land. The kids are the smartest out of everybody, and they start to feel the tiny little shifts in the emotional dynamic that the parents have with them, to know how to say what and what to say to who, and it just makes them unhealthy.
Yeah.
Before we get back to our episode, I'm really excited to share huge news with you. For the first time ever, Meaningful Minute will be featuring a film called Homeless. It's about identity, exile, and return. It's incredibly powerful.
We have so much here. Where are you guys based off?
I was in Punta Cana.
Of Cabo. Is that Gullis?
No, but
not at all.
we don't know what we're missing out on. It really is, but we just don't know it.
I want the Gula, but we do have a lot. Is Gullah supposed to be like this? We've invested billions into living in America. Will we have to leave that all behind? And if we're in Gullis, then what do we make of the comfort, luxury, the routines? If exile is supposed to be so bad, why does this feel so normal? Shouldn't something about all this make us very uneasy?
I'm on a mission right now. What Gullis is. A lot of nice things here. What's our Gullis?
You're not allowed to build big houses in Gullis.
We can't really be comfortable.
What do you think is the worst tragedy that can befall this bungalow colony? I'll tell you, Mashiach coming.
So what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that it takes a tremendous amount of letting go of what someone may think they are entitled to. Because someone may say, okay, yeah, let's choose to make peace, but you do need to give me X amount of money. We would make peace, but you're always da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It sounds like it takes from one party's end the humility and choice to say, I will let go of this thing that I think I need more than anything, because having peace is more important than having that thing that I think you owe me.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. However, what I would say is to try and divide up like you brought in finances and just logistical back and forths and time sharing and all that. You divide that. That could be a separate conversation.
Meaning, give it up forever.
Right. You don't. Right. you. That could be a fluid element to your relationship. But if you first, instead of, because all you're doing is thinking about what you're getting from the person who you're trying to get rid of, like, of course that's going to be complicated. But if the other person gets the feeling from you that No, I'm not trying to get rid of you and I'm not trying to take advantage of you. I just want what's good for the kids. And you're both giving each other that feeling, then you're working together for the same goal. That just makes everything else that you're dealing with after that much simpler. I know from our situation that there were certain things that financially that between me and Aryeh, we worked out, because certain things that I'm not going to go into detail, but certain things that let's say we should have been covering, but it was a tough time. Business was a little bit slow. So I called Aryeh and I had a conversation with him. But in return, there was something else that I gave up, which would financially benefit him. So it could be a fluid situation. And then Baruch Hashem, business picked back up and now we're back to square one. But, and by the way, speaking of business picking up and finances, I have for sure spent $250,000 on my divorce, for sure, in 3 years. So, and besides the mental toll it takes on you and the emotional, you can't focus on work. If you're a business owner, you can't focus on growing your business. You can't focus on what you do. All the things that you did that made you feel good about yourself, you can't do because you're just a mess. So you think you're getting back at the other person, but really you're just hurting yourself. Also, at the same time, you're trying to take them down with you. What are you trying to accomplish? So you lose financially, your kids lose financially. You lose yourself emotionally in the process, and your kids lose. So everyone is just losing. So why is everyone just so insistent on losing? If you want to win, then you have to grow above this moment.
Yeah, it's so powerful. You can lose with the illusion that you won.
Yeah.
And then you still lost either way.
Exactly.
It's a crazy whirlwind of, at the end of the day, you don't even know, like you get picked up by a tornado and drop back off and you're like, hey, so where was I and where am I now? And what are we even doing? And at the end of the day, you're not getting anywhere. You're not. And I've seen so many families go through this where I want to say yes, right? But I'm not saying that people should allow themselves to be taken advantage of. We're not saying that that's the answer. And no one should become a doormat, and no one should allow their ex to constantly be the one who gets away with things. That's not the answer either. But I think there's two elements here. I think, first of all, because of social media and the exposure that people have to the internet and to other people's experiences, and you're so guided specifically by whatever it is that the other person on the other end feels like telling you the reality is. If you scroll through just even Instagram, for example, everything is said in such absolutes. Like, if you are co-parenting with a narcissist, if your ex was abusive, if the mother of your children is emotionally, and when a person reads that and they're somewhat going through a dynamic like this, right away, they're going to jump to whatever it is that catches their attention. And they're like, oh my gosh, my ex is a narcissist. It must be that whatever this said, like, okay, so I was married twice. Neither of them are narcissists. So like, I find it hard to believe that every single ex-husband is a narcissist. So if so many people are only reading this as the option of what it means to co-parent, you're set up to fail.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
And in this moment, if someone is listening, they're like, but you don't know my ex. That's what they're thinking.
But that's
it doesn't
exactly
matter.
the point.
It doesn't matter.
So that's the,
point.
second part of what I was going to say. It's that, and I've said this to Dovi. I've heard people say this in the context of speaking to their ex-spouses, to their stepchildren. A good negotiator learns, and this doesn't have to be in divorce. This doesn't have to be as an attorney. It's not always winning just because you end up with either a monetary or a physical prize. Sometimes the relationship itself is what you need to be fighting for. So like Dovi and I have said, if you're speaking to someone for the purpose of needing to accomplish something that you need this person for, right? You can't do this without that person. You need to approach them like a customer, right? You need to approach them like someone who, I don't want to say anything that's going to make you want to use another company. Because if I do, then you're just going to turn the phone off and walk away and I lost the job, right? That's not you being a doormat, right? Because you're just shifting your focus on what the actual prize is, right? It doesn't have to be that the other person agrees with what you're saying. It doesn't have to be that you end up with what you want. What you want is to accomplish something with this person. And if you insult this person, if you say something that's going to cause them to not want to talk to you, that's losing, right? So that needs to be the mindset in every single co-parenting dynamic. And I'm not saying that there aren't people, by the way, who were married to narcissists. I believe there are. And I believe that there are people who have emotional issues that are really impossible to co-parent with. I also say that the other parent in that dynamic knows that. And it just means you have to step up.
Right. It comes down to what's my goal?
Mm-hmm.
What is my goal, and are my actions and behavior supporting that goal?
Right.
And that will lead to my version of success.
Right. Right. It's not about, is it fair? Why do I have to be the one? How come the court saw both of us and was like, you have more responsibility? Because the court knows exactly what's going on. So you've been saying this whole time that you're the one that's right, that you're the one that's emotionally lucid, that you're the one that should be trusted. So go with it. Like, why are you still arguing over that? You know that to be true. Yeah. Right? So it's just a matter of focus and learning how to stay on track with what you know your goal is.
Right. And I would say, it's already so challenging probably to do on your own. But again, taking family and friends into consideration, if they help you remember, like, well, what is your goal? And the other person is not well, and they're not making it easier for you. They're making it really difficult. Probably, again, when they fester the fuels, it makes it harder for the person to stay focused on, like, well, this is my goal, rather than like, you are so brave. It's amazing that they're not in your life anymore. You're being an amazing parent.
Right, right. Positive reinforcement as opposed to encouraging. Why is it fair that you should have to be? What is fair? We say this to our kids all the time. Tati, it's not fair. I was like, what does that even mean? Like, who determines what's fair, right?
Yeah. This is like, I want to be like, groundbreaking news, Red Banner, like everyone should know. Moving forward, it's so rich.
If you've ever wanted something more than anything in the world, then you've probably tried a segula or two. And if you're anything like me, then you've been dejected and disappointed when it seems like it didn't work. And that's why I love this organization called Better Than a Segula. Like their name, we learn on Simchas Torah, Ein Segula Ketorah. There is no better segula than Torah study. What this organization does is they have a group of Torah scholars that will learn something on your behalf in the zuchas of what you want. And even better, the entire process is personalized. They can study a certain daf in the Gemara for 40 days, whatever you want, whatever speaks to your heart, whatever you connect to, you can let them know. So if this is something that you would find supportive, inspiring, and encouraging, you can contact them by either clicking the show notes below or take out your phone and call them at 732-364-7029. That's betterthanasegula.org, Better Than a Segula, an organization that's there to support you in the way that they know how to and in the way that they can.
You have to check out Pizza Viza, making fresh hot pizzas on the spot by their professional chefs, indoor or outdoor in their pizza ovens, meat or dairy, plus full catering around the tri-state area and Florida. Specializing in events with several hundred people with no lines. You heard right. Full menu. You have to check them out on Instagram at Pizza Viza and visit them at pizzabiza.com. Pizza's my favorite food, so please invite me, Pizza Viza, on Instagram, and check them out at pizzabiza.com. These are the people you want to call. Pizza Viza, I'll see you at my next event.
I would love to hear from the two of you what it's been like co-parenting together, mixing your children. I love your children. Dovi, for the sake of clarifying just for now, Dovi's kids, who I met, I know they're your children as well. Dovi's kids call me T-Dog. I told them on their aunts. And Estee's kids and Esty and Aria's kids call me, I think, Auntie Poe. They get presents on their birthdays. I give your son money when he's fundraising. So I feel very connected, and I could attest, like, what you're doing is magic. You know, it's working. And I think it would be so valuable for our listeners to hear more about it from a personal lens. Is that something you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, sure. I think that if you want your kids to be successful, you can't overlook this element of co-parenting. The kids need that. They need to feel safe and secure wherever they go. That's
so can you give an example of how it manifested in your life?
I mean, with Moshe and Shmuel, I have a good relationship with Aryeh, and in another life, I mean, I might be a few years older, but in another world, we would have been friends. So it's not hard. I like him as a person. I think he's a good person. Their marriage didn't work. Okay, it didn't work. It doesn't have to. But they, you know, we go with where we are now. When it was time for Moshe's bar mitzvah, the four of us went out to one of our favorite spots. Oh, we're allowed to say the name? So where we know all the people behind the counter, and they know all of us. I think they knew Aryeh and Estee when they were married. They know me. They know my kids. They know all Estee's kids. They know Moshe Shmuel. So, and we were all just sitting at the table, and they were laughing, and they loved it. And because how could you not? You have four adults sitting together for the benefit of children, putting aside whatever they might feel just for the benefit of the children. I mean, I don't think it gets more powerful than that.
Yeah.
So, and as a result, you have a boy like Moshe. I'm saying, you know, the kid is a superstar. He is. And not to take away from any of the other kids, but the dynamic lends itself to that because he doesn't have any confusion in his life. There's nothing to be confused about. Wherever he goes, he's safe and okay and taken care of. So I mean, it's to watch. It's very simple. When a kid doesn't have that, they question everything they do. When they don't feel safe, when they don't feel, I'm not a therapist, but I've
life
watched
experience is much more powerful.
Yeah. And when a kid doesn't, then they don't know where they're standing. They don't know what to believe, especially if, you know, a lot of people, they get divorced. One stays the level from that they were, or gets more from, and one gets less. And so what does that do to a kid? Like, everything you told them up until this point is what now, well, maybe, so they'll choose their own belief. And you don't really want a teenager or a young kid making decisions like that. I mean, you don't put a car in their hands. So you wouldn't want them making decisions that can alter the rest of their course of their life either.
Yeah.
So just a stable ground lends to success.
And what does that safety and stability look like when it came to the two of you co-parenting that made your kids feel safe?
Because they know, I don't know if I should give this example, but there was a difference of opinion about something specific in regards to Shabbos. And in one house, it was, yeah. Okay. In one house, it wasn't as big a deal because it's like not because it was thought of as being wrong, it was right. But because it was known that it would be only a temporary amount of time that this activity would be going on.
Okay.
Right?
It was a question of like muktzah versus what Dovi would call kavod Shabbos, right? Okay. So no one was doing anything wrong.
Right. It wasn't chil Shabbos, but it wasn't necessarily
kavod Shabbos. It was like a question
Shabbos.
of what do you do in your home? And when you have two homes, that becomes a question, right?
So
that's a great example.
So Arya and I had a discussion about it, and we came to an agreement. However, Moshe came to his own agreement, and he took the more stringent route because he wanted to have the same rule apply across the board. And even though his friends were doing this, and again, it's not necessarily wrong. We both asked our Rav, and our Rav guided us for our homes. But Moshe decided on his own, right?
Definitely in our house.
Right, just out
Meaning,
of
I
respect.
think you
I said you do whatever your father says, and his father says you do it.
Right.
And he ended up doing the right thing in the moment. Always.
He wanted to do what you said was considered the better option in our house for sure. Meaning I can't speak to what's there, but he's not breaking any rules there, because if that's what's okay there, then we're 100% respectful of that. And I always personally, I tell Moshe, whatever your father tells you. I tell Moshe and
I tell him that all the time.
Always. It's always, and that's respected and appreciated to the point where Dovi told him, if it's what your father tells you you
even
can do,
in my home,
it's good.
It's absolutely okay. Because Abba said.
Right,
and
like that's
what Abba says goes. That's just how it is. When I remember when we first got married, the boys Moshe Shmuel were talking about their father, and they said him. I said, who's him? They said, my father. I said, no, so it's Abba. You don't say him. What's him? It's Abba. And now anytime another kid says that, they're the ones correcting. No, but who benefited from that? All of us, mostly Moshe Shmuel, but all of us, because when you respect the other person and you build them up, then everybody is winning, as opposed to tearing down where you think you're winning. Like you said, you put it better than I did. Where you think you're winning, it's just it's an illusion. It's an illusion, but you're really losing.
Yeah.
Everybody loses.
Yeah. Maslow in psychology has this hierarchy of needs. That's the foundation for people to understand how to treat someone if they're in distress. And the first one is a roof over your head, safety. And I'm just imagining how that applies to someone who is divorced and co-parenting, for their child to feel safe in their home.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's the most important thing.
Yeah. I also want to add to that, just from my perspective, because I know that this is huge in second marriages. And I think that so many people are used to, it's possible that depending on how long you're divorced for, you can have a certain dynamic with your ex-spouse and a certain way that you co-parent. And then when someone new is introduced into the picture, that can change. And naturally so, right? And I know Arya got married before I did. So Penina was introduced into the picture. But I personally feel so lucky and blessed that Dovi could have come in. And I know that I've heard people say, like, you can't refer to him as Abba. That's weird. He's not, like, you're not married to him. I don't want you referring to another man as Abba in my house. Like, who is this guy? Right. And he could have felt like weird and made his own sense of what he wants things to look like so that it doesn't feel awkward to him. But rather than doing that, I found that Dovi completely stepped up, and it became like, we're the fathers and we're a team. And it has nothing to do with me and him taking anything from me. And Dovi has completely embraced the fact that this is your son's father. And Sila, my 2-year-old, walks around the house and says, Moshe and Shmuel went to Abba. Like, she waves and says hi to him on FaceTime and knows that he's Abba. Like, and not because it's in any way trying to push its way into our home, but because that's what it is. He is their father. And the fact that Dovi has been able to create that kind of environment for us and for our co-parenting dynamic, I feel has made everything after that point so much smoother, because there's no negativity surrounding any of it. There's only positive experiences and an understanding of each person has their role. And I really believe that because of that, Moshe and Shmuel have embraced Dovi in such a way that it's like, nothing about you is a threat to me. So I'm only able to appreciate you because
they didn't have to divide and conquer. They didn't have to pick a team.
They didn't have to pick a team. And it has created this sense of like, I always tell people, because people have asked me in the past, they're like, do you think it's weird for your kids? Like they wanted you to stay married, but now and I'm like, I think that the best thing that we've done for my children is confuse them to the point where they're like, oh my gosh, do I even wish that my parents stayed married? Because then where would Penina and Dovi be? Like I've heard them say that. And I'm like, that's like the greatest thing ever to have to ponder, right? Yeah. Like, I don't even know if I want my parents to have stayed married because look at what I have.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not promoting divorce and I'm not saying that like you should aspire to, you should aspire to have the best version of what might have been an unfortunate situation, but it's not that we created the need for this. It's that we were, thank God, able to use circumstances that were already there and really make the best of them. And that's what I wish everybody was able to do.
Wow.
We'll be right back to our episode. But if you love to travel or you've always wanted to travel, then crank up the volume. I am seriously about to change your life. I just found out about this company called lalechet.org, whose mantra is the following: give us your wish list and we'll give you the world. This is a white glove service agency that takes care of everything when it comes to traveling from top to bottom. They're available 24/6. They'll take care of your airfare. They'll take care of your insurance. They'll take care of your itinerary. And get this, it won't just be done. It'll be perfect. And they offer 2 options. You can organize your own trip, whether you want an all-women's trip that you've always dreamed of, but just didn't know how to do, a family trip, a work trip. They can even charter a plane if you want something a little extra fancy and that just works for you. Or you can join one of their already curated trips. They have amazing trips that explore Jewish history with fancy meals. I don't know where this has been, but I know that this is a company I'll be using. So if you finally want the keys to the dreams that you've always had, but now you can finally make them reality, then check out lalechet.com to create that life that you no longer need to dream of, but can finally do. lalechet.com. They'll take care of all of it for you.
So to summarize, it sounds like, firstly, never in my life have I ever seen or heard anything like this. And I remember, I think it was Moshe's bar mitzvah, but correct me if I'm wrong. I saw a picture of you and Aryeh giving a speech together.
Yeah. Aryeh hugged you after. Did you hear his speech?
No. Yeah, it was a pretty good speech.
Really? It was a crazy speech. It was a crazy speech.
Yeah.
So that, I think the picture you're referring to was Aryeh giving Dovi a hug after the speech and Moshe looking at the 2 of them. Yeah.
And I just thought...
tell you another funny one. by the Kiddush, Aryeh and I decided that we're going to make everybody at the Kiddush very uncomfortable. so we started to speak a little bit. So I think we did
because my father wanted to speak. I think it was you were introducing my father.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
I do. I remember my father wanted to speak, and my father, of course, naturally has a soft spot for the fact that Aryeh is his grandson's father, right? Yeah. And I think that out of respect to Dovi, it's like my father has that same dynamic as Moshe and Shmuel. Like, what do I do with this? Like, you're my kid's grandfather, and you're their stepfather, and I'm so grateful for you and everything that you do. But like, now what? So again, rather than making my father have to question whose side to take, the 2 of them got up together.
And I think we did like 1 sentence each.
They were like
we were back and forthing.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was funny.
It was really funny. They introduced him together, and then my father got up and spoke. Right. But it was very clearly. By the way, I just want to say.
But the goal was to make everybody. Our goal was to make everybody uncomfortable.
So I was actually going to say the opposite. I wanted to say, I think that people don't realize how much more comfortable they make their families when you allow your family to be comfortable in something that they don't know what to do. Like my siblings felt like they were supposed to defend me, right? But then anywhere they would go where they would see Aryeh, and for a while I was like, what do you mean? You're not allowed to talk to him. You're not allowed to look at him. He's the worst thing ever. Meaning in my head, that's like what my headspace was, which was totally ridiculous and totally inconsistent with everything that we're promoting and consistent with what Dovi said we shouldn't be doing. Meaning I wasn't saying it to the world. I was telling it to my immediate family.
Of course.
But since we've been able to create this dynamic, no one has to be uncomfortable in their skin anymore. And I feel like my siblings appreciate that also, because they're allowed to just breathe in something that they have nothing to do with. Right? Like if my siblings go to an event and Arya's playing, they shouldn't have to feel like they're hurting someone's feelings if they say hello. Like it's rude and inappropriate not to, right? But because of the nature of the way that so many divorces end up happening and building and escalating, that's what ends up happening. And it's like, you don't even know why you're fighting with the person. You know that they hurt your sibling, so you think you're supposed to be defending someone, but then like, wait a minute. So Dovi gets along great with him. So do I have to hate him? Like, right? So it erases this like tension that everybody walks around with. And they're like, okay, so we could just breathe? Okay. Thanks. We're good now.
Yeah. And the sad part is that each person thinks that they're like in battle and doing their part, protecting and defending.
Right.
And you're just taking the sword and cutting it deeper. And then you don't win. You don't win.
Correct. No. You don't win. You're living in survival.
Right.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. So I want to summarize it so it's super clear. So correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the teachers. I'm the student. And I'm not a great note taker. So the first thing I'm hearing is, what is your goal? And making decisions that support that goal are going to lead to an optimal way of navigating through this new chapter of life. It doesn't have to be a downhill, a downfall, but rather a new chapter. And so if my goal is I'm right and I have to make sure everyone knows, well, where is that going to lead? If my goal is I want harmony, I want happy children, I want healthy children, then are your actions reflecting that? I'm also hearing it might take, depending on the party you're with, a lot of humility and letting go and choosing your battles. Because again, does that support my goal? And lastly, for each party, when there is a new dynamic or both parties get remarried, it's welcoming the other spouse, not as a threat, but as a member of this family as well. That is going to, again, support my goal of protecting my children, nurturing my children. Did I miss anything?
Yeah.
Go for it. I just thought it was me.
No, everything you said is true. To me, the biggest focus is on the people, meaning because the two people are involved in it, they might not have the ability to do it to
mediator.
Yeah, have all the family. You know, I was thinking while we're all talking here, everybody gets together for the ofruf, for the engagement party, for the vart, right? For the wedding, for the Sheva brachas, everybody, the whole family, the whole community, everybody is there for that part. When you get divorced, all of a sudden it's like, you find yourself in the middle and everybody's on a side. If that wouldn't occur, all the people surrounding this really tough moment for these two individuals, if everybody tells these two individuals, do this the least painful way, peace is the priority, the children are the priority, why is everyone disappearing all of a sudden? Everyone just disappears. Stop.
That was a mic drop. I'm going to take my mic and I'm going to pretend to drop it. That was a mic drop. Whoa. I feel like the two of you are really inviting a new way to approach the present, change how you reflect on the past, and really create a new future. And it was so generous of you to take your story and share it with us. It's a completely new way of looking at the world. And I encourage anyone that's listening, if you're involved in media and you highlight divorce in the Jewish world and you highlight the drama, please, please highlight Estee and Dovi's perspective. Let's try to encourage a new way of approaching the situation, because we all just want more happiness. We want more peace. We want conflict resolution. Let's not fester more arguments. Let's nourish more peace. And in the last 10 minutes we have, I'd love to hear how the two of you met and what that was like.
Can you cut this?
It's actually the most funny, random, but so our type story because it was so like underrated, but yet I happened to have been with my friend Aliza. We went out to dinner. I don't even think that it was my night officially to have the kids. I feel like, I don't know.
It was a Tuesday night.
I don't think so. I think we thought it was a Tuesday when you wrote that song. So that, because it made sense that it would have been a Tuesday, but I don't think it was a Tuesday. You did, I know. But I went with Aliza to Doma and we were sitting at the bar like we tended to do. And if you're listening, Aliza, yes, we give you credit for us. And we were sitting, we were drinking a little bit, and she noticed a friend of hers at the table. There were two guys sitting together, and she knew one of them. So she's like, "Oh, that's so and so. I need to go say hi." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know who that is." So I kind of like just followed her along and didn't really say much because I didn't know who she was saying hi to. And then Dovi, you say the other side of the story.
My side is that the guy that I was with, a friend of mine, but somebody who I was interviewing to hire for business purposes. I've been trying to get a sit down with him for, I want to say like 2 months. And every time that we thought it would work out, it didn't. And it kept on getting pushed off, you know.
That's why I specified that it wasn't my night to have the kids. All of this is
right. It's a lot of hashgacha involved.
Right. Yes.
So then I played ball and I got a phone call from him. He's like, "I'm available now." I'm like, "Oh, okay. It's 10:30 at night. I just got home from ball." So, okay. So I went, we met at Doma and we were sitting by the table talking when over walks this girl that he knew and this other girl who was just kind of like, you know, sauntering in the background. So they were schmoozing. So I said, "Hello, hi, how are you?
Right.
What's your name?"
They knew each other.
They knew each other, weren't talking.
The two that we didn't know each other, so we were just kind of like sitting there. So he's
Right.
like, "Hi."
So
Okay.
we were talking a little bit, and that was that. And then later the next day, I think it was, I got her number and I through my friend, and I texted her and I was like, "Maybe you'd like to go out on a date." So
we did. We went out on a date. I think first he had asked me out, and the timing didn't end up working. Maybe so we had to find another day. Could that be? We were gonna go, or maybe like I texted you last second, and I'm like, "Actually, I am available today."
Right.
I don't remember.
So
exactly.
we had made up a time. We had made up a day and time.
Right.
And then
it was like
you
a little
had to
like
stay late at work or something.
Right. It was like almost not working out, you know? And then it's funny because the most memorable part of that date that I feel like really like for me was like, "Oh my gosh, who is this guy?" He wanted to show me a song that he really loved. It's called Wings. You know
fantastic song.
Who the singer is?
I think Shlomo Farhi maybe.
Oh yes.
It's next level, so underrated. It's a fantastic song.
So we went out for a little bit. We were talking. It was chill. I think we went for a walk, maybe.
Yeah, we had gone
totally
for a
got
walk.
lost. I was like, I know exactly where we are. I have no clue where we were.
So you're tight.
Horrible with directions, like Hani's all directions. I can knock the zero. So we got lost, and then we went back to the car. And Dovi's like, "I really want to show you this song," and I don't know what it was about the way that he was talking to me and listening to the way that I operate and understood extremely quickly how I am, that he's like, "I just want you to listen." He's like, "I don't want you to try to sing harmony. I don't want you to anticipate what the song is going to sound like before you hear it." He's like, "Just listen to the song." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he knows me." So, and then,
Wow. That's like Hashem. Again, I always say it's not our timing, but God's timing.
Yeah. But you know what? We started dating, and then Dovi's like, "I'm really not ready to get married." He's like, I need some time. I have my kids. I'm trying to rebuild my business. Like, and he was very involved with his children. And I knew he had gone through a lot. And there was like a little bit here and there where he would like use asking me legal questions to like have a reason to talk. He's like, "Do you think this makes sense?"
Even though I had an attorney.
Right.
It was just an excuse.
Yeah.
It was like, "Oh, by the way."
And he's like, "I'm really not ready to date." And I told him, I said, "Well, if you're not going to date me, I don't want to be your friend." I said, like, I'm really not at that point where I said, "I like you and I I feel like there's something different and special about you. And I don't want to be just your friend. It's not like, I'm not interested in that. And so he said, okay. And then I think
this is where the story differs.
I think it was 3 days later.
No, that part we agree on.
Yeah, he texted me. He's like, do you want to buy a keyboard?
Not buy.
You wanted to sell your keyboard.
No, not mine. I had an extra one.
I'm like, you're a musician. We can't ever talk again.
No, we play. So,
but he really plays drums. And piano. I don't know. He plays everything.
So my Ellie plays also.
Yeah. His whole family is musical.
We're musical.
They're very musical.
So, I mean, Danny played sax for a while. Mickey sings beautifully. Atara sings. JJ's has impeccable timing. So he's going to be a sick drummer. Anyway, the point is...
Yeah, he tried selling... He tried talking to me about the fact that he wanted to sell his keyboard.
I know, because you had... I remembered that you had mentioned that when we were going out in the beginning, that you wanted one of the boys to have... to learn piano, that he would pick it up easily.
Right.
So I had bought him like a cheap $100 or $150 keyboard for him to take to yeshiva, and then we got him a better one. Mm-hmm. So I had this one sitting around. So I was like, by the way, do you want it?
I'm like, why are you
talking to me? I wasn't selling you anything.
I'm like, please don't talk to me. Don't try to talk to me.
I get it. It's confusing. It's you're not ready for something, but you also don't want to let go.
But in his defense, right after that, he reached out to me and he's like, okay.
Same day.
The same day. He's like, what are your expectations of me? And I was like, whoa. I'm like, this guy is so present and in touch with his feelings. I'm like, that's like a crazy question. I said, I don't have any expectations of you. I like, he wanted to know. He's like, if we're going to be going out, like, what's expected of me? And I understood right away, like, okay, this is someone who really needs to get back to feeling comfortable with himself and what life expects of him. And he's been through a lot. And within 6 months, we were engaged.
Oh, and how long have you been married for?
Almost 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, and you have your baby Tzila together.
Yeah.
And your Brady bunch of how many children?
8.
7, and then Tzila's 8, yeah.
Right, I know. I told someone this week we have 9, because I'm like, Dovi has 6 and I have 3, but really one is the same. So like every time someone asks, I'm like, hold on. But it's 8.
This is a beautiful story. This is educational. This is purposeful. This is transformative, inspiring. And I want to ask you just the first thing that comes to your heart for someone listening who is either got divorced, doesn't know where they are, figuring themselves out, religious, not religious, just navigating through the scary, painful unknown. What's a message of hope that you might give them?
Reach out.
If
we could be helpful, then I'd love to. But
and we'll absolutely put your email in the show notes below so people know.
It's really hard. It's really hard. It's probably the hardest thing a person could probably go through. But if you do the work, then you could come out the other side in a place better than you were originally. It's possible.
I would also say that it's not true that you need to abandon who you once were in order to feel happy and alive again after divorce. And I know that for me, that was such a struggle. And I was like, who am I? And what have I always been? And do I have to be someone different? But I really feel like being married to Dovi and the way that we're living our lives now and the way that I feel like I'm the same person as I always was. I don't feel like it's true that you need to become someone different and learn who you are again, meaning it's okay to want to grow and it's okay to want to learn from your experiences. But I'm no stranger to myself, which I feel like is such a fear that people have. And it's not true. And another thing that I would say is in connection with that, something that is so important in order to be able to function in this kind of dynamic and this kind of life that does present itself with challenges, and it does come with an extra set of ups and downs that regular life really doesn't have. When you do find someone that really fuels you and your soul as a person, and that you really just love being around and love spending time with, that's the glue that keeps you together in this kind of situation, because our dynamic is not regular. And the kids that we're raising on a regular basis are not always both of ours. And so it does get touchy. And sometimes even when you don't want it to, it's like you're giving more of your attention to your child than you are to me. And I'm giving more of my attention to my child than I am to you. And it could get difficult because it's not the same baby that would make sense for both of us to have to be taking care of, right? So it takes like an extra element of patience and love and really wanting the other person to be successful. But at the end of the day, the fact that like there is nobody else that I would rather just sit and have a conversation with and be around makes it that even through all that noise, he's always what I come back to, because we know that it's noise, you know? So if you can find someone that really you feel that way about, that's what's going to keep everything together.
Oof. You know, we're coming to a close of a year of episodes, of 52 episodes, and I can't think, I know of a more powerful episode to be sharing at the closing. We've covered a lot, and I know that we've been in touch a lot about trying to make this happen. There's no such thing as coincidence. Hashem knew, like Tzipora, you've hit some things, but everyone's going to remember the beginning and the end. I mean, you got to end with a bang. Not in a dramatic way, but in an educational, informative way for those who maybe were watching each episode and thinking like, but what about this dynamic? This is revolutionary. And I'm so grateful that you came in to talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I know my brain is still reeling too. You can feel Estee and Dovi's heart throughout this entire episode. And it might even make you want to look back at Aryeh and Penina's episode just to appreciate the beautiful dynamic that the four of them have created together. If you're a parent who has a child that's navigating divorce or been divorced, if you're someone that's going through that process right now, if you're a friend in any capacity, everybody knows someone. Together, let's change the narrative. Let's change history. Let's change the lives of those around us. We can't do it alone. But what's really exciting is that we can do it together. And if you feel grateful to Estee and Dovi for sharing their heart and soul, and it's also with thanks to Penina and Aryeh, who are supportive of this episode too, then simply let them know by leaving a comment in the comment section below. It is so easy. In addition, you can reach out to both of them by finding their email addresses in the show notes below and letting them know how you feel, letting them know if you have questions, and if you're feeling alone, reach out because they said that they want to be here to help you through it. Once again, if there's something you want me to know, please reach out. I always respond, and you can contact me. You know it by now. SOH@meaningfulminute.org. This podcast is here not just for entertainment, not simply for engagement, but truly to provide comfort, to create change. And I can't do it alone without your help. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week at Stories of Hope.